Did you know that every country has its own notorious villain, one that history will never forget? You're about to find out. Every nation has its own set of characters that leave a mark. Of these, individuals are celebrated for their contributions, their triumphs, their acts of kindness. Yet the annals of history are also stained with the deeds of those who have shown us the darker side of humanity. These are figures who have committed acts so heinous they remain etched in our collective memory. The chilling frost of Russia to the vibrant heart of Africa, the ancient landscapes of China to the modern cities of America, corner of the globe has witnessed its share of villains. These individuals have not only shaped the course of their respective nations, but also offered us a grim reminder of what humans are capable of under the cloak of power and influence. Let's dive into this dark journey through history. No list would be complete without these three infamous leaders. Let's start with Joseph Stalin, the man who transformed the Soviet Union from a peasant society into a global superpower. But at what cost? Millions of lives were lost due to forced labor, executions and artificial famines, particularly the man-made Holodomor in Ukraine. Stalin's reign of terror is a chilling reminder of the human cost of absolute power. Next, we move on to Germany's Adolf Hitler, the instigator of World War II and architect of the Holocaust. Hitler's ideology of racial superiority led to the murder of 6 million Jews, an act of genocide that remains one of the darkest chapters in human history. His aggressive foreign policies and expansionist ideology plunged the world into a war that resulted in the death of an estimated 70 million people, making it the deadliest conflict in human history. We turn to Mao Zedong, the founding father of the People's Republic of China. His policies, including the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, led to catastrophic consequences. The Great Leap Forward, aimed at rapidly transforming China into a modern industrialized state, resulted in the most deadly famine in history, with death estimates ranging from 15 to 45 million. The Cultural Revolution, a socio-political movement intended to preserve Chinese communism, led to widespread social upheaval and political persecution, resulting in millions of deaths and the destruction of much of the country's cultural heritage. These three leaders, each in their own way, wielded power in the most destructive ways imaginable. They were not just leaders, but tyrants, their names forever linked to some of the greatest atrocities in history. Their actions left an indelible mark, not just on their nations, but on the entire world. These leaders have forever tainted the history of their nations. Moving on to Hungary, we find a woman whose crimes are chilling to the bone. Her name is Elizabeth Bathory, a figure shrouded in horror and mystery. She was born into one of the most prominent families of nobility in the 16th century, their crest gracing the halls of power across the Kingdom of Hungary. But behind the gilded doors of the Bathory estate, unimaginable horrors were taking place. Elizabeth Bathory is believed to have tortured and murdered hundreds of young women between 1590 and 1610. The exact number is unknown, but some estimates go as high as 600. Her victims were mainly servant girls, lured to the castle with promises of well-paid work, but instead they found themselves at the mercy of a sadistic mistress. Bathory's crimes came to light when she started targeting girls of nobility. It was a step too far, and soon the whispers of her atrocities reached the ears of the king. A trial was held and Bathory was found guilty. But due to her noble status, she was not executed. Instead, she was bricked up in a room of her castle with only small slits for air and food. She lived in this solitary confinement until her death 4 years later. Today, Elizabeth Bathory's name is synonymous with cruelty and bloodlust. Her story has been embellished over centuries, with some even claiming that she bathed in the blood of virgins to maintain her youth. While this particular detail is likely a myth, it has cemented her image as the Blood Countess in popular culture. In Hungary, Bathory's story is remembered with a shudder. Some see her as a victim of a political plot, while others believe she was truly the monster history paints her as. But regardless of the interpretation, one thing is clear. Elizabeth Bathory stands as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the human heart. A dark tale indeed, reminding us evil knows no gender, Now we travel to South Africa, where one man's policy divided a nation. Meet Hendrik Verwoerd, a man whose name is synonymous with the apartheid era. Born in the Netherlands, Verwoerd moved to South Africa as a child, where he would grow up to become the architect of apartheid. It wasn't just a policy of racial segregation, it was a system that put one race above all others, enforced through legislation and backed by the state. Under Verwoerd's leadership, South Africa was divided along racial lines, with the majority of the population being systematically oppressed. Verwoerd's tenure as Prime Minister was marked by the implementation of laws that stripped non-white South Africans of their rights and freedoms. The Group Areas Act, the Bantu Education Act, the Pass Laws, each one more oppressive than the last. His vision of a South Africa where the races lived separately and unequally came to fruition, causing untold suffering and hardship. Effects of Verwoerd's policies were not just felt during his time in office, but have left a lasting impact on South Africa. Decades after the end of apartheid, the country still grapples with the social and economic fallout of his divisive rule. The racial disparities entrenched by Verwoerd's policies continue to shape South Africa's landscape, affecting access to education, employment and wealth. Legacy continues to cast a long shadow over South Africa. Despite his assassination in 1966, the echoes of Verwoerd's actions are still heard today, a stark reminder of a dark chapter in South Africa's history. Back to Germany, where one man's blueprint led to the extermination of millions. Picture, if you will, a man named Heinrich Himmler, a figure whose name sends shivers down the spine of history. Born to a devout Catholic family in Munich, Himmler was a man of seemingly inconsequential stature. Yet beneath this unremarkable exterior lurked a mastermind of malevolence. As one of the top-ranking officers in Nazi Germany, Himmler held immense power. His role? He was the chief architect of the final solution, the Nazis' plan for the systematic murder of 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. It was under his watch that concentration and extermination camps were built and operated. Auschwitz, Treblinka, Sobibor. These names became synonymous with death and despair, etched forever into the annals of our collective memory. Himmler's influence extended beyond the Holocaust. Under his command, the SS, initially a small paramilitary unit, grew into a force of over 800,000 men, becoming a terrifying symbol of the Nazi regime's brutality. Himmler's SS was responsible for countless war crimes, among them the execution of Soviet prisoners of war and the massacre of civilians in occupied territories. But Himmler's footprint was not just a German one. His actions reverberated across the world, shaping the course of history. The Holocaust led to the creation of the State of Israel, forever altering the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. The Nuremberg trials, held in response to the atrocities committed, redefined the concept of international justice. In the aftermath of World War II, the world was left to grapple with the horrors perpetrated by Himmler and his ilk. His legacy is a chilling reminder of the monstrous capacity of man, a stark warning from history about the dangers of hatred and intolerance. Yet, it's also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The survivors of the Holocaust, those who lived through the terror of Himmler's reign, became beacons of hope. Their stories a powerful counterpoint to the darkness of those times. His actions remind us of the depths to which humanity can sink. But let's not forget, they also illuminate our capacity to rise above, to remember, and to ensure such evil is never repeated. Our journey takes us to Uganda, where a dictator's reign of terror left a lasting scar. The heart of East Africa, Idi Amin Dada, the self-proclaimed last king of Scotland, ruled with unchecked brutality from 1971 to 1979. Born into the Kakwa ethnic group, Amin rose to power in a military coup, overthrowing the government of Obote. He was a charismatic figure, but beneath the charm was a man with a deep-rooted penchant for violence. His regime was characterized by gross human rights abuses, political corruption, and economic mismanagement. Amin's rule was a reign of terror, with estimates suggesting that up to 500,000 people lost their lives during his time in power. He was known for his unpredictable behavior and was often accused of cannibalism, a claim he never outright denied. Despite his despotism, Amin managed to maintain a bizarre international presence, even hosting the Organization of African Unity Summit in 1975. Yet, the atrocities committed under his rule, from ethnic purges to blatant disregard for the rule of law, have left a lasting impact on Uganda. The scars of Amin's dictatorship still linger in the collective memory of Uganda. His name is synonymous with a dark period in the country's history, a time when the value of human life was grossly undermined. This chapter ends with the grim reminder, a grim chapter in Uganda's history. Our final stop is the Andes, where one man's horrifying crimes still echo. Pedro López, a name that sends chills down the spine of many in South America, is our focus for this segment. Born in Colombia in the late 40s, his early life was a tumultuous one, fraught with neglect and abuse. These experiences, however, do not excuse the monstrous path he would later tread. López embarked on a horrifying spree of violence and terror in the 70s and 80s, becoming one of the world's most notorious serial killers. He preyed on young, vulnerable girls across Colombia, Ecuador and Peru, with his victims numbering in the hundreds. His vile actions earned him the chilling moniker, Monster of the Andes. The enormity of his crimes, López's capture and subsequent trial in the early 80s were far from satisfactory. In Ecuador, where he was finally apprehended, he was convicted for the murders of over 50 girls, a fraction of his suspected victims. Sentence he received was equally disturbing. López served less than 20 years before being released in the late 90s. His current whereabouts remain a mystery, a chilling thought that continues to haunt communities across South America. Story is a grim testament to the dark side of humanity, a stark contrast to the vibrant cultures and breathtaking landscapes of the countries he terrorized. His name is remembered with a shudder, a symbol of the horrors that one man can inflict. The face of such evil, it's essential to remember the resilience and strength of the communities affected. They continue to heal, to grow and to remember, ensuring that the victims of these atrocities are never forgotten. As we delve into the dark corners of history, encountering figures like Pedro López, we're reminded of humanity's capacity for both great evil and great kindness. It's a sobering thought, a complex dichotomy that continues to shape our world. Stark reminder that evil can lurk in any corner of the world. And there you have it, a dark tour through history. Journeyed through the shadowy corners of our world's past, coming face to face with the chilling spectres of evil that have unfortunately played significant roles in shaping the course of human events. From the icy grip of Stalin, Hitler and Mao's tyrannies, to the blood-soaked reign of Elizabeth Bathory, these figures stand as stark reminders of the depths to which humanity can sink. We've also delved into the oppressive regime of Hendrik Verwoerd, the architect of apartheid, a man whose policies sowed seeds of division and pain that resonate till this day. And let's not forget Heinrich Himmler, a man whose name is forever etched in the annals of infamy for his role in the Holocaust. Journey didn't stop there. We stepped into the tumultuous reign of Idi Amin, a dictator whose brutality left a lasting scar on Uganda's history. And finally, we confronted the chilling reality of Pedro López, a man whose heinous acts have made him one of the world's most notorious criminals. Each of these figures, in their own way, serves as a cautionary tale. They remind us of the importance of remembering history, even its darkest chapters. For it is only by acknowledging and learning from these past transgressions can we hope to prevent them from recurring. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that the spectres of these individuals remain confined to the past, serving as stark reminders of the paths we should never tread again. Let's not forget that history is not just about the past. It is a living, breathing entity that influences our present and shapes our future. It is a mirror that reflects our collective triumphs and failures, our hopes and fears, our strengths and weaknesses. As we conclude this dark tour, we leave you with a question. What figure from your country's history do you find most evil? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's continue this important conversation, and together, let's strive to understand our past better, to build a future devoid of such darkness.